Collaborating with a fellow architect, Khondakar Hasibul Kabir, Rizvi started working on a host of projects at the Rohingya refugee camp Cox's Bazar, Bangladesh, site of the world's largest camp of displaced people and home to around 1 million Rohingya refugees who fled Myanmar. It has been more than 3.5 years since Rizvi started working with a lot of prestigious organizations such as Oxfam, UNICEF, and many others to arrive at shelters created with participatory design approach for the Rohingya refugees. The United Nations has featured him as a real-life hero on its website to appreciate his contribution in building a safe space for Rohingya women refugees. With that, I would like to invite Rizvi to share his presentation. Rizvi, over to you.
Thank you so much, Ayaz and Samir, for hosting me here. It is really such an honor to share my experiences from Bangladesh to ArchiDiaries and its audiences. So I hope we can have some exchanges and of ideas and knowledges. And if anyone has any ideas to share or questions, they are welcome to comment or ask away. First of all, I will just tell a brief about my practices here in Bangladesh. What I have felt is that many of our practices have been influenced by practices otherwise in the world, like European practices or in USA, and many architects. There have been less guideline for Bangladesh how this practice should be here and how the climate should be considered, how the culture should be considered. So I have been feeling these lackings from the very beginning and tried to explore in terms of material, in terms of local material, and especially culture, what is culturally appropriate. Many of the solutions, architectural solutions, seems like that they will fit in our context, that they will go easily here, but in reality they don't. In terms of economy, in terms of climatic solutions. What I have been trying to do in the last 3 or 4 years, that to explore new possibilities or local ideas of architecture and turn them into a new language that can be further replicated or that can be further practiced through artisans or craftsmen of the ground. So I'll share my screen. So I have had scope to work in Teknaf and Ukhia in Cox's Bazar, where the biggest influx of refugees happened back in 2017. So since 2018, I have been working in this context with the Rohingya refugees and have been designing many spaces for them in our climate and in our lands. But that can be culturally appropriate for them, that can be culturally appropriate for the host communities, for Bangladeshi people. So many issues had been dealt with. So back in 2017, I heard about this influx that almost 700,000 refugees they have fled from Myanmar to Bangladesh, and it was forceful genocide. They were forcefully pushed to leave their homeland and reside in Bangladesh. Bangladesh government opened their border to accept these people for a while, for a temporary shelter, to reduce the genocide happening, to reduce the mass murder happening. So almost 700,000 Rohingya people fled to Teknaf and Ukhia area, and and today they are almost more than 1.1 million, and they are residing on the Ukhia hills and Teknaf hilly region. So you can see the background of this little girl. That
Rizvi,
yes.
Just sorry to disturb you. Can you make the presentation full screen?
Yes.
That'd be nicer.
All right.
On the bottom right, I think there is an arrow to help. Yeah, thank you.
Yeah. So, so you can see it is almost a mega city behind this little girl, and it's like a temporary city. It's like a slum. It's like a settlement, and it's also amazing how much life going on and how much dangerous it can be when there will be a cyclone or when there will be a natural disaster. Even during heavy rain, these settlements go through a lot of trouble. I'll briefly describe the phases of the camp development. In 2017, and from 2017 to mid 2018, it was an emergency phase where there were just the need of basic shelter, basic roof over the head of the refugees, and sanitation. There were no toilets, no washrooms. So the first year was all about those basic facilities. After that, there was this post-emergency phase, and there were emergency supports and understanding of context from our side, from the engineers, from the architects, whoever was working here. In 2019, it was more about what is appropriate to their culture and how can we involve this large community within the constructions, within the building of the city, and make it sustainable. So in the development phase, as this whole structure was mostly made of bamboo and all these temporary materials, it had to be regularly repaired, regularly reconstructed. And in the development phase, there were a lot of experiments about materials, what can be more sustainable, what can be more durable, but of course it has to be temporary, because Bangladesh government has these rules that it has to be temporary. Whenever we need to shift these people to somewhere else, we have to do it very easily. Because this hilltop, it was previously a reserve forest for Bangladesh, and we had to cut all the trees and make room for these shelters. And then later, from 2021 into 2022, we are now mostly focusing on their mental health, their identity, and their culture. So at the beginning, this is a photo back from 2018, mid-2018. When we went there, what we tried to look for is how, as a design professional or as an architect, we can contribute to this settlement or to this vast work. So what we try to do is we try to study a lot about these people, a lot about the community, a lot about their culture, how they act, how they behave, and what they like, and what they went through. Of course, the traumas they went through. All the stories we try to look into, and the details we can work on. For example, what are the appropriate solutions for this temporary settlement that can be easily reconstructed or easily removed and constructed somewhere else. So at the beginning, it was our process. In the process, we tried to look into all these details. A lot of NGO, a lot of organizations were working there, and we had the scope to look into these solutions, which is working and which is not. I'll tell the story how we started here, working here. So this the photo you are looking at is a government building, camp in charge office that operates the camps. There are 33 camps right now in Ukia and Teknaf, and there are 33 of these offices to operate these camps. At the beginning, we were asked to support these constructions, the camp in charge offices, and we were almost given no time. They said, okay, we need some architects, one or two, and we have to produce some drawings for the construction that is already going on. So we got involved in this project. We just could add some basic nature lighting system in the interior and some verandas that can make the structure comfortable. So this is how we got here, and this is how we got to got to be known to the government officials from this context. And later in October 2018, we were also asked to design the Refugee Relief and Repatriation Commissioner's Office. The left one, it was previously an old building, and we were asked to renovate it and extend it to at some point. And we did it very quickly. And this project helped us having a position with the government, having a good friendship, good understanding with the government. That even in a very short time, and even in a very temporary situation, there can be some good solutions or spatial quality. And we had to go through a lot of experiments for materials and schemes, what can be the perfect solutions, and we had to spend night in the camp as well. So in the right, you can see we are sleeping there in the camp. In the camp, it is at the night. It is completely a different situation. Like in the morning, you see a lot of people going out, and it's a lot vibrant. But at night, it's like dead, and no one gets out, and it's very the security conscious is much high there. So during August 19, we had when we had the understanding of the context, and we were developing our communications with all the sector members or different people working here, we started having these elaborate process of designing a building through sitting with the community, through engaging with them. So this was a safe space for women and girls for the host community. They are the minority Chakma people who are residing in White Kong, and we had the scope to engage with them and listen to their stories and share our thoughts and come up with a solution. So this was the very first basic temporary structure we did in the camp, and we designed it with natural material, bamboo, and all this straw, thatch, and everything. And it was just a vibrant place. The women started liking it, and many appropriate solutions for them were designed through the discussions. For example, they wanted these large openings through the gardens, vegetable gardens, and through the landscape. And they were less conservative to be aware of, and to design it in a way that it doesn't really constrain them. This project was supported by UNICEF and constructed by BRAC. And later, this is another project by UNICEF and BRAC in Tiknaf. In this project, we had more scope to be softer and more scope to be engaged and listening their ideas and sharing our thoughts. So this project is the safe space for women and girls. What is special about this project is this is situated in a camp, in Camp 25, that is merged with the host community and the refugee community. For example, you see the white shelters here. These are the refugee shelters, and you see the building here, the red and white one. This is probably a host member's house. So they reside very nearby, very much merged, and this project was designed to support both of them, the women from the host community and the women from the refugee community, because there were a lot of conflicts and violence going on, and BRAC and UNICEF decided to confront these problems. So what we did was we immediately had discussions with these community women, and And what we understood is that they need a very private space inside that had to be vibrant and that could host a lot of activities and where they can feel comfortable to express themselves. So what we did was we just designed a very basic interior core, and that is isolated from the outside. So from outside you can see a very barren thing, and from inside it is a more of a colorful experience. And the male members from the community, they're mostly refugees, they came along and crafted this space for their women. And during the construction, there were a lot of freedom offered to them. For example, these colorful patterns, we didn't have any idea how these will come, and they come up with these and painted these as they like. And even the roof, even the walls, we just had the basic plan, basic layout that what will be the rooms and what will be the where will be the entrance, but everything else was crafted by these people. And the result also surprised us and made us excited to see a vibrant place. I think what we like about this space is that this turned out more organic, and again, we didn't have much visualization about the space, but they did come when they had the freedom to come ahead, and they had the freedom to craft the space as they loved. And the adolescent girls, they really tried to interpret and paint how they see the space. And for example, Noor Kaya's young refugee girl, she had drawn this center like a flower. So she sees this space like a flower, and there is this gold pattern. And so this event, like this is an engagement workshop we arranged for the users who will be using the space. They can come here, they can share what they see and paint, and get used to or get known to the structure for the first time. And these were very important for the success of the surveys or success of the structures, because we wanted them, the community users, to be owning the place. And this is what right now looks like. Their plantations, their rain, and it has grown on its own. And later, this is another project, community center for UNHCR and BRAC in Camp 3. It was the end of 2019 and the early of 2020, and at this time we were asked and we were discussed by various organizations that they wanted some scheme designed in a way that whenever a structure needs to be shifted somewhere else, because it's a very common scenario in the camp that the camp in charge officer come and say, okay, they need to land to be empty, and for some new shelters or for some new facility maybe. So they had to remove and relocate a lot of structures. So we are asked to design a scheme that can be modular, that can be shifted very easily. So this was a prototype for a two-story community center. You see all the panels. These are mainly industrial, various industrial locally available materials and bamboo all merged together. And the steel structure was designed in such a way that they can make it locally. No need to have I-sections or industrial people to come and make it for them. Maybe some local steel workshop can make it very easily. We also had some, in all the projects, we had very much limitation of projects and time. So what we did was we couldn't really explore a lot more, but maybe some cultural references to the window panels and the bamboo mat can give some of them. So these sort of solutions we try to experiment. And the interior looks like this. This is now a gallery, and it also works as a training room or meeting room whenever there are a lot of people coming here. And later, following that project, this is another project, Hindupara Community Center. Almost in the similar scheme, we designed it for, again, the community from the refugees and the host communities. So I'll tell you a story about this project. The blue one is the project, and you see the dense camp area on the right of this structure. So this is the Hindupara refugee camp. So there are like almost 1,000 Hindu refugees residing there. And these Hindu refugees are the minorities within the whole camp. Like in 1.1 million people, mostly Muslim, and these 1,000 families are Hindu. So they are the minorities within the minorities, and they used to face a lot of problems, a lot of discrimination, and many conflicts. So we had to address their issues very, very precisely and carefully. We try to come up with a space where they can be provided with various services all together. For example, case management, legal counseling, any sort of program they want to arrange, any cultural activity, and all sort of things. And on the left, you can see the host community area. These are mostly Muslim people, and they're hosting the refugees here. What we did was, at the beginning, we wanted to design this space within the camp, inside the camp. And of course, there were trust issues from the refugees, and they really didn't like that we are working there, or they were skeptical about what we are going to do there. So what we did was we didn't force to build it or to design it inside. So we chose a place just adjacent to the camp, and that can be served both for the host community and both for the refugee community. So it is also a connecting platform. And later we designed this space and a vibrant one, so that both community can feel welcome. We try to put some elements here that resembles and represents their identity or their cultural elements. For example, the sarees they wear, the colorful patterns they wear, how can this be reflected? And we immediately chose some colorful mattresses to use this as insulation in the ceiling, and instead of having a boring interior, it had a vibrant one. The right side, you can see House of Muhammad Saidullah. He is the landowner, and the spaces you are looking at, the drawings, these were basically this was basically a poultry shed, an abandoned one of this owner, of Mr. Muhammad Saidullah. So what we did was, when we went there, we didn't really change the footprint. We just converted the poultry shed to a new community hall. And there was an abandoned storage shed here, the male and boys engagement space, and it was converted to this space. We really didn't change the footprint, and we tried to keep the garden as it is, the gorgeous trees. There are a lot of large trees here. So there are a lot less new footprints that were designed. As you can see, the facilities that are offered here is psychosocial counseling, case management, legal counseling, and community activity. So the scheme of this structure was again very much temporary, because we didn't know if there will be any time when we will be asked to shift this to some new place. So that is the base. That is basically CC blocks, segmented CC casting with brick guide wall. No reinforcement was used here. There was the skeleton and the skin. The skin is basically consists of the modular partitions. These are all modular panels that assemble together to make this space, and the secondary layer of the skeleton space. So in this project, we tried to combine these industrial materials and the natural materials together. Still very much minimum steel frames and the naturally grown woolly bamboo can be a solution, can create a solution that can be maintained very well by the community people anytime. And it was very easy to build, very easy to assemble these modular panels. So these panels were, for example, the steel work was made by the host people, and the bamboo work was done by the refugee. So also they collaborated here to make an article. And the flow patterns, of course, they were very excited about it, but not in the beginning. They were agitated at the beginning, but when we started putting it by our hand, they just started competing each other to design who can design what. And the result is beautiful. The patterns gives the idea of collaborating with people. And we also allow and welcome all sort of users, all sort of community members to come and own this place as they like paint it anyhow you want and make it beautiful. So these activities help the children, the adolescent girls and boys and everyone to own this place. And what is important for us is that the emotions, of course, in the first, and the texture and pattern that they resemble, the color, the patterns, all these matters to be culturally appropriate. And following that project, we did another community center just for the host community in a Bangladeshi village. Here it is in Bhalukia, in here. So here you can see in the behind there is a large betel nut tree garden, and in the whole structure you see these trees punctured through the structure. So this structure was designed in a way that the owner's betel nut tree garden would not get any hamper, would not be harmed, and this merges very perfectly within it. And this skin gives a very comfortable space because it has breathability, it has more ventilation and more light, and people are very comfortable inside. So he is the owner, and he was very happy to have this structure in his land, and he requested during the construction to us that please try to remove as less as possible his betel nut trees from the land. So we successfully almost didn't have to remove any of the trees, and we just designed it in a way that these remain. And the end result give a very soothing environment, or it frames the surrounding, or it frames the landscape that we're looking at. So these are very important for us, what we see, what we look at, and how we really behave with these solutions. And if these are replicable or not. We try to design the components in a way that this can be replicated by the local artisans or craftsmen, and maybe apply in another building of their own, and that we would love to see. So later, this is the last project that we did for the Rohingya refugees. It's inaugurated last February. It is the Rohingya Cultural Memory Center. So this is supported and constructed by IOM, International Organization of Migration. So this project is under mental health department, mental health and psychosocial department. So what the initial idea was that, can we design a space or can we design a process that will engage the community and ensure their identity and their mental health. So that was the initial thought we started with, and we came up with a 1.5 year long design process, where many workshops and many design sessions went with the local artisans. Local means the refugee artisans from different camps, to come up with solutions, to come up with stories, to come up with thoughts that will be assembled in these structures. So this photo you see was one of the very first sessions we had. These are basically having all the design ideas exchanged with each other, the cultural stories, what their elements was, and what they used in their housings to make their housings, what were the appropriate materials. And also with adolescent girls, we just tried to listen to their stories, what sort of stories they like, and what sort of culture they like, colors they like, and all sort of things. And with the women, with the cheerleaders, and they're identifying their cultural objects, their cultural landmarks that they used to have back in Hong Kong. And through these design stations, they used to make various little things with wood, with bamboo, that resemble their memory, that translate their memories and stories. And we try to learn a lot from this. For example, this is a wall designed by Adipon Jaber. So in this session, we asked them, okay, maybe can you design or can you make a wall back from Myanmar that you liked most, and that is very weird in a sense, or uncommon in a sense. So he made this wall with these window panels that converts into tables, and the techniques, we were very excited to see these, that all the joints and all the detailing he had in this miniature. We instantly understood that we have a lot of things to learn from him. And this product we're looking at, this is the Nipa palm palette. This is a traditional technique by Rohingya people to make their roofing. Almost 99% housing in the Myanmar was made by this leaf, Nipa leaf. They call it Ompata. Ompata, we call it Golpata. So there are a lot of names for this material, and we used to have these materials in our country as well, but before, not in the present. People don't generally use it anymore. But there are a lot of gardens of these Nipa trees, and we try to source them and for this cultural memory center. You will not see this material much in the camp, but we try to source this because this really connects with their memory and with the technique. And we immediately arrange some workshops where the elderly artisans who knows this technique very well can share with the younger ones or young generations. And then on the left, she is Khaja Patni, another architect team, and Imam Hossein Chacha on the right. He is teaching her how to do this. And later, these groups were made and assembled by this palace, and we designed some interior codes to allow light, ventilation, a peaceful place for the mental well-being. Whoever comes here and have sessions or look at the cultural objects, and the space, you can see the screen that is perforated, but not. It doesn't have any window or large openings. Because of the security issues, we couldn't provide any large openings on the main surface, because this is the gallery, sort of gallery where there will be a lot of objects. So we tried to create some interior codes that will be the main source of the light, and the screen, of course, will allow some light and ventilation. But it will also not be penetrable by the common people, but they can have a peek. So these codes offer some certain spaces where they will come and come down, and can have sessions from the organization or even within themselves. There are a lot of activities going on here right now, like musicians come, painters come, they use the space very well. And all sort of cultural objects were documented and gathered to be composed in the space, to have the essence or idea of who they were. You see various components of this structure. All these were like the screens behind the court. These were designed by Nur Islam, Imam Hussain, Shahabuddin, and others. So you'll see all these patterns are different from each other because they have so many patterns, and they know so much that they wanted to implement in the structure all sort of objects. And these floor tiles, these were also designed and made by the Rohingya people, the Idris Bhai and their people, and we just had the idea. We just discussed the idea that maybe can we design some flooring system where your ideas of cultural objects can be reflected. So they came up with these tiles, and you see boats, you see flowers, sun, and all sort of things. And you see some clay tiles as well. These were made by the potters. So each and every courtyard has its own identity. For example, the first one only hosts the kitchen garden and what they used to harvest from the kitchen garden, also the plants. The second one is like a mini pond, and the third one, this one is it is all about medicinal plants. So each and every court has its own theme, so that the later generation can come and learn from this, because they are pretty much disconnected from their origin, from where they are from, and this information can help them get some idea. And you see musical instruments, toys. This is in the middle. You can see that storytelling box. It rotates, and it is also designed by Mr. Jaber and his team. So this structure was mostly about how we can say that we just designed the basic shell and basic space, but we tried to engage people as much as possible and various people as much as possible to get their ideas, to get their solution, and compose it within these groups. And I think that's why it looks it has turned out so organic, and you can see various solutions, various stories in each and every corner. So yeah, that's more like that. We have been working for 3.5 years now, and these projects we have done so far. And currently we are working with Red Cross on a health facility that is still ongoing. That we can share later. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Rizvi. Thank you so much. It was wonderful to see how architecture can become a tool, to sort of make an impact in the society. And it's a kind of a design process where we have been discussing with many people, where essentially what we are talking about is a participatory design process. And as an architect, you sort of take the back seat after a certain point. Let's say you sort of give the basic shell, or even that basic shell is many times arrived with the consultation of the community and the discussions. And then it is a kind of a role of a facilitator that you need to do, to bring people together and let the architecture sort of become a backdrop of many things that can be possible. So I think it is a wonderful demonstration of what as an architect you can do to make a positive impact in the society. I'd like to ask you a simple question, something that now this kind of a role is something that is not a very conventionally we are taught in architecture colleges. I mean, that is where architect is normally at the center of the universe, and things happen around him or her. Versus now, in this kind of a role where you have to sort of let go of your, let's say, if quote unquote ego of a designer or whatever it is. How was that learning or unlearning process for you in the beginning?
Yeah, that's why I mentioned Khandakar Hasibul Kabir. It's very important to mention him because he is a sort of mentor to me, and, whoever is here practicing here, and we learned these basics from him. So he is working in Jhenaidah right now. That is also a rural place from Bangladesh, and previously he worked in a slum in Dhaka. He stayed there and listened to the people and gave so much solution. So these ideas intrigued us a lot. Yeah, it is true that from the university, it is not a conventional way of learning or way of designing, but his practice really was a fuel for our thoughts. And after graduating, I tried to learn from him through these participatory projects in Jhenaidah. We used to design some ponds, some community spaces with the community people in the same process. So this is one technique we learned laterally from few architects who are practicing in Bangladesh. And I think at the beginning it was of course not easy for me because I wanted to take the decision and I had to let go a lot of decisions. But what I found out that the acceptance after the collaborative process or is much better, and people feel happy about it. They take care of the space, and that I think that makes the space more successful, because if I design a space and I do it my way and I come back from that space and nobody is owning the space or thinking that okay, maybe some architect came and he designed the space, so why should we own it? If that is the question, that ruins the whole essence. And I like the fact that anyone comes and make it organic. Anyone comes with the human touch or any sort of inputs. And I personally like that outcome, that organic outcome, that surprises me as well. I mean, because during design process we do a lot of 3D visualization and this. So if we see the exact 3D visualization in the reality, I think I personally don't get surprised anymore. I mean, yeah, I am making it, I know, but when the community people come with much more interesting solution, that makes me happy as well, personally.
True. So you had a chance to work with that fellow architect that you mentioned. You mentioned the name also, Khandakar Hasibul Kabir, and you had a chance to collaborate with him, and that sort of gave you kind of a good learning experience. Now, we have been seeing that during there's a great opportunity to bring people together, even in the design process, also in the construction process. How is it that people have responded after these structures were handed over to them? How is it that architecture has made impact in their day-to-day lives?
That is the thing. I mean, I think even in the last project that I have shared with you, the Rohingya Cultural People, in the Cultural Memory Center. So the people who were engaged with the construction and in the design process, they got emotionally attached to the space.
Yeah.
So it is now difficult for them to let go of the space or not care about the space. Even when I go there right now, they get very emotional and say that they like this space better than their home because they have spent so much time. And that becomes natural, and that becomes very easy to maintain these spaces. They now come, they clean, they are sitting there, they're making the space active. So because a natural building, and building that's made of natural material, needs continuous care and continuous maintenance, and that is by the hand of the artisans. You and I cannot go there and keep doing that with tying the ropes. So I see that in the last project they love it very much, and they go there often, even when they don't have much work to do there. But in the previous projects, the experimental ones, maybe not all the projects were successful. Whenever there were more engagements, people liked it more. And whenever the space was without even engagement, the space was, let's say, good enough, they liked the space either way. So there is no definite rule that you can say that if engagement will make the place vibrant or no engagement will not make the place vibrant. There is no definite rule. But we can assume that as a person, as an educated person, or as a part of the team, if you are softer, if you are humble and better, people are tend to like the space more, and that is just an we can assume, and that can be said well. But I would say it doesn't necessarily have to be a template or a very defined system that, okay, you have to engage with them, you have to talk to them. If it doesn't work for you, it doesn't work for you. If it does work for me, it does work for me, that sort of thing. But I think all the designers and architects should try to care about the artisans, care about the people they are working with, and be humble to them as much as possible. That brings the joy and happiness of making the place together.
It's like planting a seed, and letting it grow on its own, and let people take care of that on their own, and make them part of the process as well.
And in many constructions, maybe you don't have the scope to get engaged with it. So whoever is working there, for example, let's say construction workers who are working there, maybe you can have a day off and talk to them and maybe listen to their stories. So it softens the whole process, the whole construction process, because the construction process is already difficult, and it's a difficult job to work in the scorching sun. And going back to the home, I think they get all the time agitated. So even if you're not talking to the community, whoever is building it, maybe you can connect to them and make the event a bit joyful, and that only brings happiness, I think.
Yeah, talking about the construction, the one is definitely these buildings are constructed with very minimum resources, I'm sure with very tight budgets, and also on top of that another layer that there is a sense of temporality. You never know that tomorrow you might have to dismantle it and take it somewhere else. So how the choice of the materials, the bamboo and the steel, is it sort of a result of all these factors, or are there some more factors like availability of the craft, the people who can work with, etc.?
So how we worked was a huge parameter that influenced this process and influenced these materials as well. For example, we had to go through procurement to purchase these materials, and for example, let's say BRAC will purchase these materials, and their procurement team is busy in so many other things, purchasing so many other things, supporting so many other sectors. So we had to think very carefully that what is the very easily available material, what is available there, and you don't have to look for in the other side of the country, and it doesn't make the things complicated for them as well. So it automatically forced us to choose material that is available nearby. We can call the known vendor, and he can supply it very soon. So these sort of materials, I think if we talk about the technicality or in detail, that maybe these materials are available and we are not using much fuel for the transportation, so it is sustainable. We can say about that. But when we are actually designing, we focused on the ease of the purchase, the availability of the material, because time limitation was a factor. And if we had to choose between a lot of materials, we would lose the quality of the project. It would be built either way without our design, and we would lose the chance. So this whole process affected choosing the material, and it also, I think the challenge also gave us the right direction. For example, in short time, we could use the regular insulation in the roof, but we also urged for some cultural essence. And what will be the shortest or what will be the quickest response to that? And we saw these mattresses and we brought this. So that sort of thing. The challenges guided us very well. I think if there was less challenge, we would have much more time and we'd think all day long, but probably some not good solutions would come. But these challenges really forced us and guided us very well.
Yeah. We have a question from the social media. We also have a comment from Yamin Mahmood. He's saying that these are work with communities. It's a challenge and it has been done very beautifully. And we also have a question where someone, Prasenjit Devnath, is asking, how do these, Bangladesh is very much prone to hurricanes, very frequent. So how do these structures take care of that particular aspect?
Yeah. So in most of our structures, you will see either the roof is very low. I mean, the ridge maybe it will be higher, but the niche or the veranda it is very low, so it catches less wind. And the edge of the roof is mostly more reinforced, like with bracings and all the structural solutions.
Yes.
And horizontal rail, it's a very much challenge in this religion. Like if you design a roof like this to catch the rain, it will not work here. The whole structure will be flooded. Everything. So in most of the structure, we try to ensure extended veranda. We try to make sure as much shading as possible, as much protection as possible from the rain, and it was designed very low to catch less wind, so that the wind goes above and all. And each and every project is individual in terms of setting, in terms of these climatic challenges. Some is on the hilltops, and some is like in a jungle or in a garden. So we try to contextualize the solutions as well. Like not all the solutions, even in these projects, will not be appropriate for the other. So I would say in Bangladesh, if anyone wants to design in Bangladesh or in this region, they should consider that the rain should always go away from the main structure, the main interior shell. I try to have a basic idea that strong roofs and very flexible partitions. These were the basic idea in my head in all the structures. And strong roofs, for the strong roofs, we try to reinforce with bracings and structure as much as possible within the temporary window.
Yeah, and there's a lot of diagonal bracings is also there. I mean, even in the last project that you showed, there are all around there is diagonal bracing to take care of the lateral thrust.
Yes.
Yeah, I think that's wonderful exploration. Just I think if you have some time, then maybe we can have some more questions. Otherwise,
that's good.
So because we've already crossed an hour, so I think nice if I asked you. So just I'll wind it up. Before winding up, I wanted to ask you. I was going through your website, and you also shared some of the screenshots of your sketchbooks. And there's a section on your website where you have placed your sketchbooks, and I was really fascinated going after page. It's a wonderful sort of documentation of things that are happening around you, and there are very nice observations. I mean, for example, a particular page where we are talking about that quality can be affordable, discrete aesthetics. And on that page itself, there is sort of one line which says that, this diary, this page, helps you sort of deciding as to what to let go and what is essential, which cannot be compromised, right? So now, wanted to ask you as to, how important do you think is the craftsmanship? I mean, by craftsmanship, I mean not the craft of practicing as an architecture. You want to detail things in a nicer way. I mean, you want to make things crisp, versus at times you want to let go of certain things. Okay, so how do you balance this? Is something that I want to ask you.
Okay, first of all, about the diary. I think I am a person who struggles with discipline, and this diary really helps me organize my thoughts. Like whenever I write, I think it is there, and it helps me. It guides me through the process and what should be and what should be not. And about craftsmanship, I think craftsmanship is very important for the longevity and for the maintenance of a building. But there should be a balance, a threshold. There should be a threshold. Like depending on the project, you should understand that should you focus on the craftsman so much, or should you just let go of something and make it happen either way, make a beautiful space either way, because you have limitations, various limitations in various contexts. So for us, in the first few projects, craftsmanship was not much important. We just wanted the space to be there, and it had to be the space had to give the essence of other parameters. But then when we got time, we tried to look into the craftsmanship so that the building can last long, it has less maintenance issues and all sort of things. But again, another point, we also tried to think that because we wanted so many people to come here and learn from this practice as well, we tried to let go of craftsmanship from these people. We didn't really expect a lot of craftsmanship from the artisans, because we thought this process as an event that will help them learn. And maybe they will not be as good as others or all the artisans, but that is not the point. The point is the event, how it helps them. So craftsmanship in this context, in the refugee context, it has been not much of a bigger concern for us. It has always been the learning from each other. Maybe if we always wanted their craftsmanship to be better, but that is from learning from the better one. But if they get discouraged in the beginning, like, no, your work is not good, so you cannot do it, he has to do it. So he gets excluded. We didn't want that.
Yeah, and as you know, project after project, I mean, particularly the final one where it's about the Museum of the Artigraphs, you can see that, okay, the details and the elements are getting refined, and as you go ahead. And also in the beginning you shared the different phases that the refugees are going through, and probably now it is entering into a sort of a development phase where things need to be a little bit more permanence, etc. So in that sense, it will be very nice to see how your this language that you have arrived evolves and gives takes shape. That will be something that will be wonderful to see, and we will keep looking for in your future projects also. So Rizvi, I think I can go on. I have tons of questions, but I think we need to also do justice to the time. And I must say that it has been wonderful experience to introduce you, to see your work, and finally the interaction session that we have had. It has been wonderful experience. Thank you so much on behalf of our team here at ArchiDiaries that you gave us your wonderful time.
Thank you so much. It was a very pleasant experience for me as well. And if anyone from your team visits Bangladesh anytime, let me know. I'd love it to show you.
Sure. And just like to conclude this session by announcing that this was the third interview that we had in our series. The next Saturday we are having a break, and the Saturday after that, I think that is the 4th June, we are having architect Felix Holland from Local Works, Uganda, and we will be having his interview at 6 o'clock in the evening as per the Indian Standard Time. So I look forward to see you all of meeting you there. Thank you so much for joining with us. Thank you, Rizvi.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.